to the UIAAA Connection podcast. GoFan and VNN are proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the UIAAA Connection. Now a combined company, GoFan and VNN provide a seamless integration for digital ticketing and athletic websites. Direct your fans to one place for all your athletic events, communications, and tickets to home and away games. Thank you to GoFan and VNN for their exclusive sponsorship of the UIAAA Connection.
Welcome back to another edition of the UIAAA Connection. I'm your host, Mark Hutch Hunter. Today we have as our special guest, Kade Morrell, Certified Athletic Administrator, the Director of Athletics at Morgan High School. Kade, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Hutch. Great to be with you.
Let's have you begin by sharing with our audience here in Utah, across the nation, and internationally now, where you grew up, where you went to college, your first job, etc.
Well, I grew up in a small farming community in central Utah, a little town called Loa. Most people just know of Wayne County. They don't know the individual little towns, but yeah, that's where I grew up, attended high school there, and then moved on to college, went to Weber State. And here I am in Morgan, 13 years later after I started my career at Wayne High School.
Really? So you taught where you went to school? Well, no. So the high school's not in Loa. The high school's in Bicknell. Yeah, but it's not far.
Correct.
So obviously you had to take the bus. So when did you graduate from Wayne County High School?
So I graduated, this is going to date me, give me some age here, but I graduated in 92, the great class of 92, Wayne High School.
So then tell me, was Heidi there when you graduated?
Yeah, so she was a co-teacher, co-coach while I was there at Wayne. Can't remember when she exactly started teaching, but yeah, it would have been close to when I was there as a student.
And Carrie Anderson was there also?
Correct. Yeah, Carrie Anderson was my baseball coach. He tried to get me to wrestle. I wrestled clear up until high school and then just fell in love with basketball a little more. But yeah, I had a lot of great memories, great times with Coach Anderson.
That's awesome. So Loa, I had an aunt that lived in Lyman, but of course this would have been long after you left there. She married one of the Chappells, which is a fairly common name down there in Wayne County. But,
yeah, one of my best friends, good friends, David Chappell. He was we coached together baseball there. So yeah, I had to marry outside of Wayne County, so I didn't marry my cousin. So
okay, so tell me, so how many years did you teach at Wayne?
So I actually started my teaching career at a troubled youth program. Worked there for several years. We took youth out into the wilderness and a lot of in rehab, trying to get off the substance abuse, all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, Hutch, that was probably one of the best things for my career as an educator, is just realizing, we don't understand, we truly don't know what some of these kids are going through. So it gave me a lot of great experience there. And then I started my coaching career while I was working at the youth program at Wayne High School. Started in, I believe it was about 99 is when I started there. As an assistant coach for both baseball and basketball. And enjoyed, my wife and I both taught and coached there for 13 years. And before some family experiences, anyway, moved us northward up here to Morgan. I've been here now almost 12 years.
That is awesome. Let's talk for a minute about the youth sports possibilities. I'm asking this not tongue in cheek, but I remember it's got to be probably 8 years ago now. I took my daughter and her family down to Capitol Reef. Went down to Calf Creek Falls, did that, went to Capitol Reef, did the Hickman Bridge, Cassie Archie, did all that stuff. And I remember, for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the like a, well, it's not a 7-Eleven. It's got like shakes and ice cream and stuff. But I stopped there, and it was during the time that after you left that Wayne was actually trying to get a varsity football team together, because this truck pulled in and there was these 3 kids in the back seat with their purple Wayne jerseys on, and they had just coming from one of the two-a-days, because we had been down there right before school started. I don't think they have that now, but growing up in Loa, you may not have had as many youth sports experiences as possibly someone in the metropolitan area. Talk about that for a minute.
Sure. So being in that small environment, you didn't have maybe as many choices, but you definitely, I felt like you got to participate almost more in a sense. I played baseball, I did track, played basketball, wrestled even a little. So it was definitely different. Some of the amenities we didn't have. The only time I ever saw a hurdle was if I went to a track meet somewhere. We didn't have a track when I grew up. So yeah, some of those things it was interesting, but to be honest, Hutch, like I say, I got exposed to a variety of different athletics that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise if I were in a bigger, larger school. But no, it was, yeah, we tried to get as many kids out, and I actually ran cross country as well. I mean, you about had to do it all to fill some teams in small schools.
So you went to Weber State, went back to started teaching at Troubled Youth, then went to Wayne. Obviously, you got led up to Morgan. You coached there, so I'm wondering what you coached there and how did you come about to get the AD job at Morgan?
Yeah, so in total, I've taught and coached almost 18 years. Here at Morgan, when my wife and I moved north, I was an assistant football coach, the head girls basketball coach, actually helped with track for a couple of years. So I did that for, it was about 5-6 years. And in that time, some movement had happened within the school, coaches, this and that. And the athletic director at that time, Ty Meixel, he took a principal job at one of our middle schools. So they came to me, actually, it just kind of all fell into place. I wasn't truly ready to be done coaching, but I felt, if I passed up this opportunity, who knew when it would come around again. And so I was actually interviewed, was hired as an assistant principal first, and then took over the AD position as well. So in my job here at Morgan now for the last 6 years, I'm the vice principal and athletic director.
And that is a handful, same as the famous Ren Hoops before you, who was in the UIAAA Hall of Fame. So they have that Morgan legacy. Let's have you talk for a minute about some of the mentors, the leaders in your life that made a difference.
Yeah, as far as education, I always, through school, I love school. I know it's kind of weird to hear maybe, but I actually did. I loved my high school experience. But it wasn't until in college at Weber State University, I had a professor by the name of Kent M. Vandergraaf. He taught human anatomy and physiology to me, and loved the fact I was going out in pre-med, and we had the lab class where we worked on cadavers and all that kind of stuff. And, he came to me one day and he said, Kade, you are my top lab student, but man, you cannot take a paper pencil test to save your life. I said, I get it. I know, I don't know. I study, but I just struggled with those paper pencil tests. And he said, well, to be honest, if I'm going to have somebody work on me or do this or that, he says, you can show me physically on a cadaver everything. I know you understand it all. So he said, I'm going to take away, I'm not going to worry about your paper pencil tests. As long as you keep acing all your labs, we'll be just fine. And at that moment, I created a great relationship with him. And I felt like he truly just wanted to understand and help me as an individual. And that really changed for me at that point, that educators can truly make a big difference when they make those connections. So as far as education, he was definitely one of those turning points for me. In athletics, my father was a coach. He coached with Larry Anderson at Snow College men's basketball for a few years. And then I was fortunate enough to have Larry Anderson as my high school basketball coach. So I literally grew up on a bus. I don't know if you remember back when they had the hood at the front. That was my seat, the bus driver. We can't get away with that today, but literally that was my seat. I had my cooler all set up there. Had some great experiences with my father and with Coach Anderson. Got to travel with Snow College, the Badger basketball team. Wayne, we were also the Badgers, so that was a great connection.
Right.
But got to go one specific trip that really influenced me. We went to Phoenix. I remember Snow College had a tournament down there. And they had a 6'10" player by the name of Paul Affiaki. And we had just played at Mesa, and I remember him shattering a backboard. So here's this great big guy, 6'10", he ended up playing overseas, Europe. But that night, as we went back to the hotel, I was a young kid at that time, and I specifically remember him grabbing me and saying, "Let's go play in the pool." And he was throwing me around, chucking me, and I thought, wow, here's this college guy, and he is spending time with a young kid that's maybe looking up to him. So just all those experiences really helped shape me, and thought, you know what? I'm going to make a lot less money, not going to become a doctor, but I want to go in and teach this stuff and be a coach, and hopefully be able to influence and affect as many people as have affected me.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let me ask you somewhat of a serious question here, Kade. What's your biggest failure or disappointment in life, and what did you learn from it?
That's an interesting question. I was always taught, and I grew up thinking that a failure is only if you stop, if you quit trying, right? But I feel like a lot of us who get into this profession are workaholics. I mean, that's what we do. We just work, work, work. So I think one of my biggest failures, honestly, is not slowing down enough to enjoy the moment. Whether that was being a coach, being a teacher, being a player even. And so now that I've joined the Grandpa Club, which is one of the best things ever, my grandson has really taught me and helped me understand, some of the important things in life. So honestly, it's just, Hutch, I wish I just would have enjoyed some of it a little more.
All right. That's a great answer. Let's have you talk about the job of athletic administrator today and how it's changed, or how it's the same since you first took over. Obviously, we'll throw COVID out because that was a mess for everybody. But just in the time that you've been the AD, which is less than 10 years, talk about the changes.
Well, to be honest, Hutch, I think the biggest change has just come within myself. I think the duties and responsibilities have always been there, but I don't think maybe when I first started, I realized what effect or what influence I could have. I think we would all agree some of our student body have changed a little. They want a little more instant gratification, that kind of stuff. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that's changed is my knowledge of what I can do, versus what, maybe starting out, I thought, oh, well, I guess here's my job. But so I would say that's what's changed the most.
That is some great insight. Thanks so much for sharing that. Let's talk for a minute about the UIAAA, your journey with the UIAAA, how you became involved, how you first heard about it, and where that's led now through, and then we'll talk after that about your executive committee stuff.
Excellent. Yeah. So again, kind of as I started out my AD career, a couple of things fell into place. The current AD that was in our region had to leave, And so I got voted in, was selected to be part of the ADEC community. And honestly, that's being with you, being with the colleagues there, that really kickstarted what I felt, boosted my AD career. So the UIAAA, I'm fortunate enough to have administrators who support me going to conferences, going to these different activities that I really get to collaborate and, communicate with those who are in the trenches with us together. So I honestly believe that unless you've been an AD, no one truly understands what an AD does.
No, that is exactly that. I couldn't have said that better myself. So let's have you talk now about your unique position. I say unique because most of the members of the executive committee of the UHSAA, which runs all the sports, different from the UIAAA. We're kind of partners in a lot of things. But it seems to me that the regions that have less problems, I'm probably generalizing, I'm probably get a call from Rob Cuff when he hears this. The regions that have ADs as representatives, and some of the 3A, some of the 2A, some of the 1A, well, even some of the 4A, but only principals in 5A and 6A. I know you're representing your region. And so talk about the blessing that's been for you and how you're able to communicate from the state office to your region and have it work out positively.
Sure. Hutch, I think one of the biggest things, I feel sometimes if athletic directors and administration don't have great communication and don't talk with one another and meet with one another often, there can be quite a big disconnect. And so the fact that I'm actually an administrator in my district allows me to sit on that EC board, but it also allows for that communication with administrators from other schools. And also I feel that they understand, okay, he's getting all sides of this. So it's really, a huge benefit, I feel, of getting the perspective from the state side of things, seeing what they're trying to accomplish, what they want to try to do. But then also, working with the colleagues as ADs. So again, I don't know if I could put out there a suggestion for a lot of schools. I think it is a benefit to have some type of administration closely involved with athletics so that they really understand and know what's going on with that side of things.
Well, you're blessed. And let me see if I have this correct. Your current principal is Luke, correct?
Correct.
And where did Luke Thomas come from for our audience?
Yeah, so Mr. Thomas, I actually worked with him a few years ago. He'd been communicating with me, and I said, "Hey, Morgan's a great place." He was at Grantsville, so he was serving there.
He was the AD at Grantsville.
He was the AD there, and he had some things that was coming up with his family that he's possibly thinking of moving. And anyway, we got him up here. So yeah, that's been a great relationship. Again, he's been an AD. He knows what I'm working with, dealing with. So that working relationship's been great.
That's awesome. Let me talk for a minute about certification. You are certified athletic administrator. Luke is a CAA. You're probably, and I'm just off the top of my head, but there's not a whole lot of high schools in Utah that have a CAA for a principal and a CAA for an executive director. So talk about how unique that is and talk about the importance of becoming certified.
Hutch, I'm just going to put this out there. I hope other states have a similar conference as we do here in Utah. That Athletic Directors Conference is honestly one of the main things I look forward to every year. That certification, I think everyone would agree a paper's only worth a paper, right? But the coursework, the activities, the things you need to go through, I feel it's critical that ADs continually try to improve and learn. Otherwise, we don't keep up with the current law, current everything, issues that are going on. So just to have again, administration who have been through the process, who are certified as well, is extremely beneficial. And again, if I could put a plug out there, like I say, a lot of people don't look at the certificates, but boy, it sure helps in critical moments.
Very well said. Let me ask you this, Kate. What's one common myth about being an athletic director and an athletic administrator that you would like to debunk for the public out there?
This one is pretty easy to answer. So this was funny. When I took over the job, it was about my second year. This one guy just kept coming up to me and kept saying, "Man, I wish all I had to do was go to games." And I thought, oh, okay, so that's all you think an athletic director does, is just go to games. So anyway, again, those of us who are in the trenches realize and understand that's not even the tip of the iceberg as far as responsibilities and the duties that we do. But yeah, going to games, that is a great part, but definitely not even close to what we do.
No, I laugh because so many times when I ask that is the answer, but these people don't see when you get to school at 7 in the morning or sometimes at 6:45, and they have no idea how many messages there are on your phone. There were days for me, and I'm sure it's the same for you. It was 2, sometimes 3 hours. Sometimes it's 10 or 11 in the morning before you can get to your list of this is what has to be done today, because you've got 5 fires to put out. In the midst of putting these 5 out, you got another 2 calls and you have to take care of this. And I'm smiling as you're smiling, because I just don't think that people quite understand how that works.
Yeah, in fact, just this conversation we're having just now, I was running, hurrying. I had to drag some field, get them ready for some community events. And again, that's just what we do. We answer the call when it comes.
Absolutely. What's the favorite part of your job, Kate?
Hutch, I think the connections and relationships that created with coaches, with players, and colleagues. It's fun to be able to pick up the phone or text somebody that I know. We got friends in Arizona who are on the ADs down there that, again, just share what we do on a daily basis. And, to see kids, I think everyone that's in this profession would agree, these kids learn so much more than just sports, participating in athletics. So to see kids develop lifelong lessons, develop that character that can truly, honestly, only come sometimes through participation in athletics, that's a huge benefit. And again, I don't know how many of ADs in their schools do that chocolate milk. I get that little chocolate milk delivery. That is one of their favorite things. They see me coming down the hall with that box and they know, oh, today is our day. And anyway, relationships and connections you make with people, it's very enjoyable.
Very good. Let's finish up with a couple of questions, Kate. The first one being, I need your 2 suggestions for a brand new AD in order for them to be successful. They need to follow Kate's suggestions to gain that success. What would your 2 suggestions be?
I think, first of all, get involved. Some wise people always told me, you get out of life what you put into it. Well, this is no different. Get involved. Number 2, really get to know the resources that are out there. I think sometimes we get into these professions and we feel like we're on an island sometimes. But man, there are a lot of people that's been doing this for a while. I'm talking to one of those, right? I'm having a great conversation with somebody who's done this for a couple of years. But really reaching out and utilizing the resources that are there. So that would be one of the biggest things. And then number 2, again, and I know we've talked about this certification, but that just helps you get involved in the right way and yeah, jump full in, give it your all, and away you go.
Great pieces of advice. We'll finish with this. Kade, what questions should I have asked you that I failed to ask you?
Am I ever going to be able to beat Hutch in a golf tournament?
Well, yeah, that depends if Hammer plays or not, because as you all know, I grab him and he just drags me along behind him. But now that he's retired, and now that I'm retiring from the, I assume we'll still play, but we may not. But so that's a great question. So I would think your chances have probably improved.
Might improve if you're not there, right?
Yeah, there you go. All
no,
right.
Hutch, being in the association, I truly appreciate the friendship that I've developed with you, the leadership, and again, those connections that we have made. It's been a great journey so far. Who knows how long this will continue for me, but thank you for all you've done. And again, the colleagues that we have, the relationships that we make, it's fantastic.
Well, thank you, Kade. That's very nice of you to say, and same thing back at you. On that note, that will wrap it up for this edition of the UIAAA Connection. Again, our special guest today has been Kade Morrell, Certified Athletic Administrator, the Director of Athletics at Morgan High School. Kade, thanks so much for being on the podcast today.
Thanks, Hutch.
For our listeners, we hope you tune in again next week for another edition of the UIAAA Connection.